First contact. The quantum anomaly detector in Dr. Sarah Chen's lab started beeping at exactly 11:57 p.m. on December 31, 2023. She glanced up from her computer screen, brushing aside a strand of black hair that had escaped her usually neat ponytail. The reading made no sense. The quantum fluctuations were orders of magnitude larger than anything she'd ever seen before. "David, are you seeing this?" she called out to her research partner, Dr. David Foster, who was already hurrying over to her station, his usual calm demeanor showing cracks of concern. "These readings, they're impossible," he muttered, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses. "The energy signatures are completely off the charts." Sarah's fingers flew across the keyboard as she tried to make sense of the data streaming across her screen. The detector, her life's work, was designed to identify quantum-level anomalies that could indicate breaks in spacetime. She'd spent years defending her research against skeptical colleagues who claimed she was chasing science fiction. Now, watching the numbers climb higher and higher, she almost wished they had been right. "It's not just us," David said, his tablet displaying multiple news feeds. "Observatories worldwide are reporting strange phenomena. The ISS just logged unprecedented gravitational disturbances." Before Sarah could respond, every screen in the lab suddenly went dark. The emergency lights kicked in, bathing the room in an eerie red glow. Through the laboratory's wide windows, she could see darkness spreading across the Princeton campus like a wave, building after building going dark. "Power grid failure?" David suggested, but his voice wavered with uncertainty. Sarah shook her head, her eyes fixed on the quantum detector's backup display, still running on emergency power. "No, this is something else. These patterns, they're not random. They're organized. Deliberate." The floor beneath them began to vibrate. A deep, resonant hum filled the air, so low it made their teeth ache. Sarah's phone buzzed, a presidential alert. Her hands shook as she read the message, "Remain indoors. This is not a drill." Across the globe, as humanity prepared to celebrate the new year, massive ships appeared in the skies above every major city. They emerged from what appeared to be tears in the fabric of space itself, massive, dark shapes that blocked out the stars, each one larger than any structure ever built by human hands. In a Pentagon Situation Room, Colonel James Martinez watched the feeds with growing horror. 23 years in the Air Force had prepared him for many things, but not this. Not ships that made aircraft carriers look like toys. Not the complete failure of every missile launched against them. Not the realization that humanity's most advanced weapons were as effective as spitballs against their shields. "Sir," Lieutenant Ana Rodriguez called out, her voice steady despite the chaos around them, "we're receiving a transmission. It's being broadcast on all frequencies, worldwide." The voice that came through the speakers was clearly artificial, a machine translation of an alien language, "People of Earth. We are the Darkseid Collective. Your world now belongs to us. Resistance will result in immediate termination. You have 1 hour to surrender your governing authorities to our control." Martinez's phone buzzed, a text from his daughter Emily, "Dad, what's happening? The sky is full of ships. Mom's freaking out." His fingers hovered over the keys. What could he possibly say? How could he tell his 16-year-old daughter at the world as they knew it might be ending? Before he could respond, a new alert came through, movement detected in low Earth orbit. "Colonel," Rodriguez called out. "Multiple smaller craft deploying from the motherships. They're heading for every major military installation worldwide." Martinez straightened his shoulders, years of training kicking in. "Get me a secure line to every command center still operational. And someone find me everything we have on quantum physics." There was a researcher, Dr. Chen, who published a paper last year about detecting spacetime anomalies. If these bastards are using some kind of quantum technology to appear out of nowhere, she might be our best shot at understanding what we're up against. In her lab, Sarah was already reaching the same conclusion. The patterns in her data weren't just showing the aliens' arrival, they were showing the fundamental principles behind their technology. If she could understand it, maybe. A new sound cut through the humming, something between a screech and a roar. Through the window, Sarah and David watched as sleek, predatory shapes descended from the larger ships, their surfaces seeming to absorb light rather than reflect it. "Sarah," David said quietly, "I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you years ago. About why I was so interested in your research." Before he could continue, the lab door burst open. A figure stood in the doorway, humanoid but clearly not human, its iridescent armor seeming to shift colors in the emergency lighting. When it spoke, its voice had the same artificial quality as the broadcast, but with an undertone of urgency. "Dr. Chen," the alien said, "I am ZYX-427. If humanity is to have any chance of survival, you must come with me now." Sarah looked at David, who had gone pale, then back at the alien. In that moment, she knew that whatever choice she made would shape not just her future, but the future of her entire species. The quantum detector gave one final beep as the first second of 2024 arrived, and with it, the beginning of humanity's greatest challenge. Through the windows, the night sky blazed with the light of countless alien ships, their surfaces reflecting the fireworks that still exploded below, humanity's celebration of a new year becoming the backdrop for what might be its final hours as a free species. In the Pentagon, Colonel Martinez was already mobilizing what forces he could, knowing they were probably rushing to their deaths but seeing no alternative. In homes and shelters across the world, people huddled around phones and radios, waiting for news, for hope, for any sign that humanity had a chance. And in a quantum physics lab in Princeton, Dr. Sarah Chen stood face to face with an alien defector, knowing that her next decision could determine whether humanity would live to see another New Year's Day. The invasion had begun. The hidden truth. The next 12 hours changed everything humanity thought they knew about their place in the universe. Dr. Sarah Chen found herself in what appeared to be a cloaked alien shuttle, alongside the defector ZYX-427 and a visibly agitated David Foster. The truth, when it finally emerged, was more shocking than the invasion itself. "Your research partner, ZYX-427 said, its translator creating eerily perfect English, is what my people call a sleeper. Implanted decades ago to monitor humanity's technological progress." Sarah stared at David, her colleague of 5 years, the man she trusted with everything. "Is this true?" David's face was a mask of anguish. "Yes. But not in the way you think. I was supposed to prevent humanity from developing quantum detection technology. Instead, I helped you perfect it. Because I discovered something about the darkside that even most of their own people don't know." Their conversation was interrupted by a violent shudder as the shuttle evaded detection from both human and darkside forces. Through the vessel's transparent hull, Sarah watched Princeton disappear behind them, the alien ships above it looking like massive storm clouds made of metal and malice. Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., Colonel Martinez was discovering that the chain of command had effectively ceased to exist. The president and most of the cabinet had been evacuated to an unknown location, and the alien ships had somehow known exactly where to find most of the backup facilities. "Sir," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, "we're getting scattered reports of successful resistance. The Chinese military managed to bring down one of the smaller craft using some kind of experimental EMP weapon. And there's something else, the aliens seem to be specifically targeting research facilities. They just hit CERN, Fermilab, and dozens of quantum physics labs worldwide." Martinez connected the dots immediately. "They're afraid of something. Something we might know or discover." His phone buzzed again, another message from Emily: "Dad, Mom and I are safe. But you need to see this. Sending video." The clip showed one of the alien fighters engaged in combat with a human jet. But something was odd about the way the alien craft moved, there was a pattern to it, a predictability that shouldn't exist in a dogfight. "Get this to our best analysts," Martinez ordered. And find out if anyone's managed to contact Dr. Chen. In orbit, aboard the Darkseid command ship, Admiral Thax was discovering that the invasion wasn't proceeding according to plan. The humans were adapting faster than expected, and there was a growing concern about the number of quantum research facilities that had been empty before they could be neutralized. Report, Thax demanded of Rax 299, his most brutal but effective commander. The humans are using primitive but unpredictable tactics, Rax 299 admitted. And we've lost contact with ZYX 427. The traitor may have reached the Chen woman before we could. Thax's outer membrane flickered with patterns of rage. Find them. The quantum detection technology cannot be allowed to develop further. If the humans discover the truth about our dimensional technology. In the shuttle, Sarah was learning exactly what that truth was. The Darkseid weren't just aliens, they were dimensional refugees, forced to flee their own reality when it collapsed. Their entire civilization now existed in a space between dimensions, and their invasion of Earth wasn't just about conquest. They need your world's quantum stability, ZYX 427 explained. Their dimensional pocket is collapsing. But instead of asking for help, they've chosen invasion. Because they believe humans would never accept the truth about reality's fragility. David nodded grimly. When I learned this, I couldn't go through with my mission. Humanity deserves a chance to help find a solution. The Darkseid's way will destroy both our species. Sarah's mind was racing, connecting pieces of data she'd gathered over years of research. The quantum fluctuations we detected, they're not just from their ships appearing. Their entire civilization is causing microscopic tears in our spacetime every moment they're here. Exactly, ZYX 427 confirmed. And those tears are growing. The shuttle's sensors suddenly blared a warning. 3 Darkseid fighters had spotted them, and their cloaking technology was failing. As they took evasive action, Sarah grabbed her tablet, desperately trying to send her latest calculations to someone who could use them. The message reached Colonel Martinez just as he was reviewing Emily's video with Maya Patel, a civilian tech expert who had been brought in to analyze the alien flight patterns. Sir, Maya said, her eyes widening as she read Sarah's data, these ships, they're not just flying. They're literally sliding between moments in time. That's why they seem to have such strange acceleration patterns. But if Dr. Chen's calculations are correct, they can't maintain it indefinitely in our dimension. Martinez looked at the tactical display, where dozens of alien ships were systematically destroying human military bases. How long? Hours, maybe less, Maya replied. Their presence here is inherently unstable. But they'll kill us all before their time runs out unless we find a way to use this information. In the Darkseid command ship, Admiral Thax was reaching the same conclusion. Begin the final phase, he ordered Rax 299. We can no longer afford to be selective. Initiate quantum collapse of their major population centers. If we cannot have this world stability, no one will. The order went out, and across the Earth, the larger ships began to power up weapons that would tear apart the very fabric of reality. Humanity had less than 3 hours to find a way to survive. In the shuttle, now damaged and flying low over the Appalachian Mountains, Sarah realized something that changed everything. The quantum detector, she said suddenly. We've been thinking about it wrong. It doesn't just detect dimensional anomalies, with some modifications, it could stabilize them. Or destabilize them very precisely, David added, catching her meaning. ZYX 427's translator took a moment to process this. You're suggesting we could force their ships back into the dimensional pocket, without destroying either reality? Sarah nodded. But we'd need help. A lot of help. And access to every quantum research facility that's still standing. I know someone who might be able to help coordinate that, David said quietly, reaching for his phone. Dr. Wei Zhang. Head of the Global Defense Initiative. Another sleeper, but like me, one who chose humanity. As they formulated their desperate plan, Emily Martinez was making a discovery of her own. While helping evacuate her neighbors to a makeshift shelter, she noticed something about the alien ship's attack patterns. They weren't random, they were creating a very specific geometric pattern across the Earth's surface. "Dad," she texted, attaching her analysis, "I think they're building something. Using our whole planet as some kind of quantum machine." The message would prove to be crucial, but first, they all had to survive the next hour. The shuttle carrying humanity's best hope was running out of power, the Darkseid were preparing to tear reality apart, and dawn was approaching on humanity's first day under alien invasion. The question wasn't just whether humanity would prevail, it was whether there would be a reality left to prevail in. Quantum destiny. Dawn broke over a world transformed. The Darkseid ships hung in the sky like mechanical mountains, their surfaces beginning to ripple with the strain of maintaining their presence in our dimension. But humanity wasn't defeated yet, not while Dr. Sarah Chen's desperate plan was still in motion. The damaged shuttle carrying Sarah, David, and ZYX-427 had managed to land at a secret facility in the Blue Ridge Mountains. There they found Dr. Wei Zhang already waiting, surrounded by a makeshift team of quantum physicists and engineers from around the world, those who had escaped the initial attacks. "The girl is right," Wei said without preamble, showing them Emily Martinez's analysis. "The attack pattern isn't random. They're creating a massive quantum resonance field." But they didn't count on a teenager seeing the pattern. Sarah studied the geometric layout. "They're trying to stabilize their dimensional pocket by using Earth's magnetic field as an anchor. But if we could reverse the polarity of even a few key points, we'd collapse their entire network," David finished. "But the precision required, we'd need to coordinate with resistance forces worldwide, hit multiple points simultaneously." In the Pentagon's underground command center, Colonel Martinez was gathering every resource he could for exactly such a coordination. Lieutenant Rodriguez had established contact with military forces from 24 nations, while Maya Patel worked to integrate Dr. Chen's quantum calculations into their targeting systems. "The Chinese EMP weapon," Maya said suddenly. "It worked because it accidentally matched the quantum frequency of their dimensional technology. If we can replicate that." Martinez nodded grimly. "But we'll only get one shot at this. Miss the timing, and we'll tear open reality ourselves." Emily, who had been brought to the Pentagon for safety, looked up from her calculations. "The pattern they're creating, it's like a web. But every web has a center point. Look." She pointed to a spot in the North Atlantic. "That's where their command ship is positioned. It's the quantum anchor for the entire network." Admiral Kthax, aboard that very command ship, was becoming aware that his carefully laid plans were unraveling. "The humans are coordinating resistance more effectively than should be possible," he growled at Rax-299. "Find out how." But Rax-299 never got the chance to respond. At that moment, ZYX-427's message reached every Darkseid ship in orbit: "The humans know how to stabilize dimensional pockets. They can save our people, if we let them."